Hello, I'm Lise-Lotte, and I've been excited to come back here to tell you how the flowers went at my daughter's wedding in Nova Scotia. I started the story a couple of weeks ago. I told you the story of where I was going to get the flowers and hoping that, you never know, right? Hoping that it will all go well. And I can tell you, it went beyond well. It was really memorable and wonderful, and I'm so grateful for the experience. So in the previous video, I talked about this lovely serendipitous moment. And so for those of you who've seen that, you will know Little Flora Gem. So the gem part was kind of funny because that's my membership, but I have capitals because it's gathering experiences that are meaningful. It's for women who would like to be more connected through creativity. And Flora is what I'm calling my creative practice when I do workshops and stuff. So the fact that we found a flower farm, a local flower farm with this name was just like, wow, I can't believe it. And so when we arrived here in this beautiful rural area for the flowers, Jessica had it all lined up. It was all set. And she very kindly also wrote out on a long piece of paper each of the stems. So normally when you buy a bucket of flowers from a flower farmer, you get sort of an array, like, a bunch of a variety of different things. And it kind of depends what's blooming that day kind of deal. So you might get everybody does it differently, but you might get like an idea of like, you could have one bucket that's sort of more pastels or darker, brighter ones, depends how the flower farmer does it. So anyway, that was very kind of her to do that, to lay them all out so I could kind of see what I had ahead of time so that I could plan, okay, so, bridal bouquet, 6 bridesmaid bouquets, the boutonnieres, and then the ones that lined the table. And then we also had this idea for it was an outdoor wedding right by the ocean. It was fantastic. And so we got 2 sets. So like 2 was on either side, and then they were going to come together. So the couple and the person marrying them would be standing in the middle, and then these would be on either side. And then we did the math. You can actually, these window boxes come in different sizes. So we lined that up with the length of the table that the couple would be sitting at in the front of the room. And we ended up moving them aside a little bit because the couple had nicely brought the cyanotype that I had made for them for their BC party and had hung it there. So that you could see the C plus M, we moved them aside a little bit. But that was kind of the idea. And so we do all of this, obviously, I'm going to say obviously, but it's not obviously, but no, it's all done sustainably. So there's no flower foam or anything like that because we don't want the microplastics. So that was all done with jars inside, mason jars inside this window box, and then some chicken wire, and then that heavy black tape that I brought from home. So that's what we did to hold those ones, and they held really well. And I think also what I hadn't thought about, but actually was an advantage, is every jar had water in it, which added weight. So outside, that was really good. So if I were to do that again, I would. It worked really well, and we were right by the ocean. It wasn't particularly a windy day, but anytime you're right by the ocean, you can count on some wind. And so that worked out really well. And then when we got there to Nova Scotia, to Halifax, we went to the IKEA in Dartmouth and bought a bunch of the small vases. And then we also, when we got to Lunenburg, because we were staying at an Airbnb just outside of Lunenburg, it's about an hour drive. And so we had seen a few of those, like somebody had put outside of their house, like a box with, free. So of course I saw glass stuff. So I went over. And there were a few jars that I got, and then that made me look around, and then I looked across the street, and there was like a secondhand, like I guess what they would call a charity shop, but I can't remember which charity it was for, But we went in and it was lovely. And I got the glass vases in there that then the bridesmaids could have their bouquets in if they wanted to. And I also got something which was kind of neat. And I think that this is just another kind of, there were two things actually that really had meaning. And it wasn't something that I was looking for. It just happened, and it just happened beautifully. So, as you know, my mom was Danish, and Lise-Lotte is a Danish name, although I was born here in Canada. And I found this. This actually is a vase which is from Royal Copenhagen, which is very old pottery. They're still making it, still hand. I don't know if this one was hand painted, but anyway, you can see all the markings on the bottom and everything. And this is from 1915. And I saw it for $20, and I just had to have it. And my cousin, who had come from Copenhagen to help with the flowers, we had such a good time together, she looked it up, and it was done for a fundraiser from, I believe it was from 1910 until maybe 1985, I think, something like that. And it's a fundraiser for children's charities and for seniors center, like a senior center kind of thing. So this just had such meaning because it's blue. It's borrowed because I'm going to keep it, and it just had such meaning. So I've put some of my sweet peas in it for now. And then the other thing, so when I was paying for this and the other glass things, I looked down, and there was, my mom always wore Chanel perfume. And this came, and it had a little bit of perfume in the bottom, and it was just like, we took the lid off. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was so old. There was no label on it anymore, but I mean, you can see the bottom through the glass. It says Chanel. And so what we figured was, it was actually my husband who figured this out, and it was, it'll come to me, and put that in, and it just kind of ate away the, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I forgot that. Anyway, whatever it is, and it cleaned it all up, and look at how beautiful and clear that is. So we had that on the table in front of the bride, and I was so happy to be sort of showing her that ahead of the time, because yeah, just, she right away realized, like, it's something for Momor, and it's just kind of it's just a connection, right? So so that was wonderful. And the venue itself is called Bull Point Estate, and we drove until we went to the end of the road, and there was no sign, and there was just like, the road ended. It was a little tiny bit of a cul-de-sac, and then there was like a dirt road, and the GPS thing said carry on, and it's like, okay. So we kept going, and there were some rhododendrons, and we went down through this area, and it's 3 buildings. There's a main house, and then the wedding itself was outside by these 2 rocks, and we had flower petals that we had gotten out there because 2 people were throwing them down, ahead of the bride. So those can't be dried. They have to be fresh so that they'll fall, right? So you sort of start thinking of these things in different ways. And then together with my daughter's friend, we made these, and they are for the confetti that I had shown you, I think, a couple videos ago. So we made those when we got there with some washi tape, and just to really make sure it was stuck, we did use a little glue, like a little glue stick glue on the other side, just to make sure that but that was really fun. I'm really glad we did that. And then other than moving the 2 pieces into the room for the couple's table, everything else was sort of placed in there. We had the other thing that we got at this charity shop, which was fantastic, was a wine decanter. And sometimes wine decanters are like one-sided, like they're different on both sides. This one was equal. And so we just simply put the things that I had gotten from Flora Gem. We didn't add color. And it was going to go on, there were sort of 3 tiers of like blocks, white blocks. And so it sat beautifully in that space next to where the cake was, and then next to like a Prosecco where you pour it and all the glasses, and it just looked so pretty. So it really kind of held its own in that space. And because of the shape, it just kind of like, it was more sculptural in that way, and without being fussy. And I think that was kind of one of the things about working with flowers in this way, is that in that room, which was just beautifully white, beautifully airy, a cement floor, so it didn't, there was no competition with anything. It was just, you really could see the flowers. And so because not everybody was from Nova Scotia, in fact, most people weren't, I was offering to anybody who lived there, please take these bouquets home with you at the end of the night. And then we had a plan for the flowers that we, not people couldn't take all of the flowers, but they took a bunch of the peonies, which is perfect, and that kind of stuff. And the next day, we came back, a close friend of mine, and we rearranged all of the flowers a little bit so that they were updated. Some of the David Austins were perfect on the day, but I wouldn't be giving them away at this point. And we had made arrangements. My daughter's friend had found a place who would accept the flowers, and so we drove them to this seniors facility. And when I walked into the facility, because it was a double door, because I think there's probably some memory stuff and so on happening there, and it was Canada Day. And so when I walked into the space, all the residents were dressed in white and red, and there were 2 musicians there, and they were yodeling, and it was just kind of a fun thing. And what was neat was we just kept coming with the flowers. Like, there were a lot of flowers, and I wanted for everybody, I didn't know how many residents there were, but I'm certain that I would have enough in these little ones, and we added a lot and so on, so that not to overwhelm the facility and the staff, who are already obviously so busy, but as just something that, I wanted the flowers not to just be left. And I felt like, one of the things that I thought about was these flowers were grown in this particular place. And then I got to play with the flowers and make something together with 2 people who I love very much, and make it for my daughter's wedding. And so they got to have that meaning. But then I didn't want it to end there because the flowers weren't finished yet. And so by taking it to a place which really shares that kind of beauty, I felt like that was kind of a beautiful continuum for these flowers, and that they could be enjoyed in this place. That, let's face it, everybody loves flowers. And when I was bringing them in, I could hear some of the residents get excited about it. Like, I was between the doors, and we were bringing stuff in, and because you don't want, there were a few people who you didn't want to have come out, like leave, when, they needed to be supervised. And so we were really careful around the door. So the program manager was so lovely, and she's like, oh, everybody's asking questions. And I could hear people say, oh, the flowers are so beautiful and stuff. So I really felt like that was a good place. And I'm glad that, we made arrangements for that. And I'm glad that my friend and I redid things the next day so that they were good enough for the people who are going to enjoy them, in their room, and maybe in common spaces, because we had the large ones that the candles were in. So I used those ones for all for all of the larger stems, and for the ones that we had in buckets that we had extra and so on. So I really did feel that that was good. And then the place where I bought these in Lunenburg, they also, I said that they wouldn't be getting this back, but we asked if we could bring the glasses back. And so we did, and we also were able to bring back, like, take apart the window boxes, take apart the things, and they had all the jars and everything. So actually we ended up being able to give more back than what we bought from them initially. And so I hope that somebody can enjoy those 4 window boxes. They were really good green. I didn't know that they came in green. I've only ever seen them in black or kind of like terracotta color. So it was a light green, so that was good. That was a Canadian Tire. So yeah, so it was really a special time. And I'm showing you pictures here of the place. And I'm not showing the most beautiful of all, which is, of course, says the mother, my daughter on her wedding day. But the flowers, I was just really thrilled about the flowers, and really grateful to have the experience of making flowers with my cousin, because for several reasons. And one of them is that sometimes I think, especially when you're learning something new, like I'm taking this course, you start, maybe there's some self-doubt there. There's some like, well, maybe it should be done this way. And I didn't actually watch the wedding bouquet video. And I've made wedding bouquets in the past for other people, and I find that it's such an honor to do that. This time I felt like, well, it's my daughter's. Like, it's somehow like it had more kind of weight in my head to that. And that can be a creative block. And my cousin said to me, you're not making a wedding bouquet, you're making a bouquet. And by saying that, it was like, yeah, like I can make a bouquet. I mean, I make bouquets all the time, and I have for years, and I love it, and other people have loved it. So I just kind of that was really helpful. And also because she and I have a very similar aesthetic, and it is somewhat of a minimalist, sort of more natural kind of thing, like not too much, although sometimes I think that I can make arrangements. And if you've seen some of my other videos from like last year and stuff, I do put a lot of flowers in, and that is one style. But I think that for a wedding of this kind of venue, and it's not too much. It was just right. And so we started, when we were doing the flowers at the Airbnb, we started with the bridal bouquet. And I just chose sort of one of each kind of thing that I wanted to put in there. And then we started arranging it with that. And it was so warm. And so I didn't want the peonies, because it was several days ahead, right? Because you're kind of working ahead, and then they have to get moved in the car. And my husband did a fantastic job of just kind of packing it up, because it's one thing to make it. It's another thing to pack it so that, things aren't falling out and things stay in the water. And it's like, it's kind of a big thing. And so it really was a team of 3 of us. And that was really fun too. We had a good time. And there was a lot to put together. But I'm so glad that we did it. And it was nice to have the different vases as well, because I feel as though different flowers could kind of have their moment, and you could kind of see it down the table. So that was kind of a nice thing. And we could have done it without the cloth, but I think the cloth had that wave in it was kind of nice, and the blue didn't overpower it at all. I think if it had been a brighter color, it would have been competing with the flowers. So obviously flowers are my thing. So you don't want to compete with it. You want it should work together, and I think that it did in that case. And that was my daughter's choice for the blue, and it was a wonderful way. Actually, blue. Coming back to blue. I'm wearing the dress that I wore. These are my grandmother's pearls, and it's dark blue because the bride and groom wanted to have Ilse there in some way, and so everybody was asked to wear blue, and that was actually really cool. That was a neat way of bringing Ilse into the event, into the day, but it still was about, the bride and groom, and so we also had a few things like all of the boutonnieres had a bachelor button or cornflower that was blue, and there were a few blue elements, kind of a little bit in that, but mostly, yeah, it was a lovely way to kind of bring Ilse there. And I don't know if you've had this kind of experience, but when you've lost somebody, as I've lost my youngest daughter to a brain aneurysm, uh, it it's not that you've lost them in the past. It's actually that every event that you ever do going forward, they are not there. And it because there are childhood friends who, all the girls were close friends, um, who were there, and other family who's there, we all notice at this really deep, in this deep way, that Ilse's not there. And so that wasn't something that I had anticipated um, in that way, having never done this before. And so that was all new. I'm jumpy because I got 6 wasp stings on my back picking sweet peas the other day, and the wasp went right up my back. Anyway, so that if I moved, that's why. I could feel something on my leg. And yeah, so it's not something that I had expected, but it is for me, it was another way to have the flowers and something so grounding and something so immediate as to be, working with these beautiful, these beautiful flowers that Jessica had grown, and be at this wonderful place and be sort of creative in that way of how we were going to do it, but also very grounded in, okay, we got to get these flowers to the venue. They've got to be looking good on the day. It can't be too hot. We ended up changing our Airbnb time because we wanted to stay one more night at this place because they had air conditioning and the next place didn't. And I'm glad that we did that. And I kept the bridal bouquet in the shower, and it was a beautiful place. There's even a lovely window down, and so I put brown paper on the window because I didn't want it to be light, want it to be dark and as cool as possible. So we had blankets one night, but the air conditioning was going to be on for these flowers. And but it was also, yeah, it was a fun team thing, but it was also a grounding thing for me, and so I appreciate that, and I appreciate always being able to work with flowers, and the fact that we could share them in different ways, sharing the love that went into growing them and the love that they were, held with, and that was a celebration, and so it could be that, carry that beautiful energy for other people who, we won't meet, but hopefully who enjoy them. And yeah, so that is what I have to tell you this week. And I appreciate all your positive comments, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments as well. If you are enjoying these conversations in this series, I would love it if you liked and subscribed to this page, and let anybody else who might find these kinds of conversations interesting, just as a storytelling kind of thing about creativity, but also about the different connections that we make through creativity, both connections to ourselves and also, other people and whatever we're doing. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for being here, and yeah, I'll just show you these one more time. Aren't they so pretty? I wish you peace on your path.